let's bring in Lieutenant General Stephen Twitty, former Deputy Commander of United States European Command and retired officer for the U.S. Army. General Twitty, thank you very much for coming to the Sunday show. First, I want to get your reaction to that sound that we played at the top of this hour of President Zelensky calling for a ceasefire before he can meet with President Putin for peace talks. Is that even feasible? And what needs to happen to actually make it a reality?
Well, what I will tell you is, Jonathan, the next couple of weeks will be crucial for both countries. When you take a look at the Russians, President Putin has asked that he claim victory by May. And when you take a look at that, that's a lofty and ambitious goal if he plans to claim victory in the East and in the South. If you take a look at where he's talking about, that means he's going to have to take the 2 autonomous regions that he's claimed. He's going to have to take the Donbass. He's going to have to take down the Mariupol, then across in the South, all the way from Mykolaiv, all the way to Kherson and Odessa. Lofty goals with a country that has a ground force that's not up to par and not capable, not well trained, and so forth. On the Ukrainian side, when you go ahead, Jonathan.
No, go ahead, General Twitty.
Yeah, on the Ukrainian side, when you take a look at them, I don't think they fought their hard fight yet. And I think their hard fight will be in the autonomous region. It's going to be in the Donbass. It is critical that the Ukrainians stay on the offense. It's also critical. I was amazed about if they did this, I was amazed that they pulled off the attack into Russia. That's good thinking. That's fighting the Russians deep in order to fight them on 2 fronts, in Russia's territory and also within Ukraine. If they can keep those type things up, and if the West, to include the U.S., can continue to supply them with weapons and what they need, I think that the Ukrainians will be successible.
All right, so I'm glad you broke that down just like that. There's a good tutorial there. So I'm going to start with Russia. What do you make of the news out on Friday that Russia was conscripting more than 130,000 troops, 1, and 2, publicly saying that they told those troops that they will not be going to hot spots, i.e. Ukraine? What do you make of the conscription, and what do you make of the promise to those new troops that they won't be going to Ukraine?
Yeah, I have a couple of thoughts. Yes, when you hear 130,000, that's a lot. I don't think he'll meet that lofty goal as well. But what I will tell you, these troops are showing up, again, untrained, leaderless. They don't know what they're going into, so they won't have the will to fight. And it will be very similar to what we have seen the past 5 weeks. Soldiers need to know why they're fighting. They need to understand. That way they can have the will to fight. In this case, I don't think the Russians have that.
And when it comes to Ukraine, I know a little bit of your thinking in terms of that push you were talking about by the Russians to try to wrap this up or make major gains by May. But one of the things I believe you think they will do in order to reach that May goal is use chemical weapons. Do I have that right?
I'll tell you a couple of things. Go back to what I said about the lack of a professional ground force in the Russian army. The Russians are not known for ground warfare. They're not known for urban warfare. What you've seen over the last couple of weeks, the Russians get in the bind on the ground, they pull back, then they start pummeling civilians, infrastructure with missiles and artillery and so forth. I think you're going to find the same thing is going to happen in this East-South fight. They will give up on trying to use the ground force, so they will pummel these cities and make them look like we have in Mariupol right now. In addition to that, remember, Putin wants a victory. And so chemical weapons could come into play. I think, he's put out on the table a victory by his victory day. And so You know, he's going to try and get that victory, and chemical weapons may be one way he goes about getting that victory.
And then, General Twitty, last question. If he does use chemical weapons, you are a member of the military, retired, but you're a member of the military. If he were to do that, if Putin were to use chemical weapons in Ukraine, what should the West's response be specifically?
Yeah, I think President Biden has made it clear that there will be some type of response. I know the Pentagon plus General Walters there at United States European Command, they put together what is called flexible response options to provide to the president in the event that chemical weapons are used. So you can anticipate across the diplomatic, information, military, or economic instruments of power that those levers be pulled in the event of chemical weapons used by Russia.